Okay, so I guess we're good to go. So I'm Bob Carlson. I'm the first selectman. Also with us tonight are Selectwoman Nicole Porter, Selectman Brett Mastriani, and Town Clerk Antoinette Pancaro. I'd like to thank you all for coming. You've now established this as the biggest town meeting we've had since we've been in office, so thank you. I didn't realize so many people were so interested in the closeout of the middle school, but thanks for coming. When we start a town meeting, what we have to do is we have to elect a moderator. So at this time, I'm going to open nominations for a moderator for tonight's meeting. So John nominated Sean Murphy. Is there a second? Brian Rathman, second. Okay, do I hear any other nominations for a moderator? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing none, can I get a motion to close nominations, please? We have a motion and a second. Who motioned, please? Raise your hand. Okay, it's John Bosmer. I think I can see right back there. And who's second? Dan Smith. Is it impressive when I can call everybody by name? Okay, so we have a motion for Sean Murphy, and there was no other person nominated. So all those in favor of making Sean Murphy our moderator for tonight's meeting, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Sean, you're in charge.
Before reading the ground rules, I'd like to ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll continue with the ground rules. Speakers this evening shall form a line at the podium to speak here in the middle of the room. All speakers will use a microphone regardless if they feel they can be heard without one. And this is because the people on Zoom cannot hear you without a microphone. So everyone, please come up to the mic and make sure everyone's able to hear you that way. If you have trouble getting up to the podium, just raise your hand and we'll bring a microphone to you. The speakers are going to state their name and address. Each speaker shall be limited to 2 minutes because of the number of people we have here in the room. Time permitting, you will have an opportunity to speak a second time after all others have spoken. Request that the speakers stay on topic and not repeat previous expressed opinions. That's important tonight if we're going to get out of here by midnight. And I may have to remind folks during the meeting. Please don't be offended. All questions are to be directed to the moderator, and there will be forwarded to the presenter for answering that particular question. Voting is going to take place by written ballot. If there is anyone that hasn't received 2 ballots when they checked in, please go back up to the desk and get a ballot, because that's how you'll be voting this evening. All registered voters of North Stonington and all persons owning at least $1,000 of taxable property on the grand list are eligible to vote. Any person not legally qualified who fraudulently votes or vote more than once shall be fined not less than $300 or more than $500 and shall be imprisoned not less than 1 year or more than 2 years and shall be disenfranchised. Voting by assuming the name of another shall be guilty of a Class D felony. Hearing no objection at this time, these are the rules of the town meeting. Next, if I could ask the town clerk to read the call and also question 1 on the call, please.
Warning is hereby given to the electors and those entitled to vote at town meetings of the town of North Stonington that a special town meeting will be held at the following location on the date and time indicated for the purposes of transacting the business set forth below. Location, North Stonington Education Center Media Center, 298 Norwich Wesley Road. Date, January 22nd, 2024. Time, 6:30 p.m. Only those attending the meeting in person will be able to vote. The meeting will be available for comment and viewing through Zoom at the link given in the call of the meeting. Those attending virtually will not be able to vote. All supporting documentation will be available on the town website, www.northstoningtonct.gov. Zoom link for viewing and public comment only is given in the call of the meeting. Question number 1. Shall the town approve an additional appropriation from the remaining ARPA funds balance in the amount of $90,000 to make the final payment and close out the old middle school wing demolition project?
Okay, before we have a presentation on this and open it up for discussion, I would entertain a motion to approve number 1 of the call. Motion by Charlie Steinhardt, second by Dan Smith.
Okay, so if you picked up one of these on your way in, I would hate to ask you for $90,000 and not tell you why. So, as you know, with the middle school building was something that was still in place when this Board of Selectmen came in office, and we felt that there was a feeling the town thought that building should have come down when we did the school modernization project. It was still there, and we had a community conversation, I remember, on January 15th, 2022, to ask if the town truly wanted that building down. And the overall opinion was, yes, we wanted it down. We looked at the quotes back from 2020 and realized it was probably going to come somewhere between $1.2 million and $1.3 million to take the building down using the older numbers. We had money in the ARPA fund, which is the American Rescue Funds. And we said, if we could take $1 million out of that and put it aside, at least it would help the taxpayer, that would cover the lion's share of the demolition project. So that's what we did. And then we started the project. And as I said, we looked at the quotes from 2020 for us to see what kind of number we'd be looking at. And after the project started, we noticed that there's 3 things that happened during the demolition project that weren't covered by most of the bidders. One was a new wall had to be built between the building that was coming down and the building that was staying. It was the impression of the architects originally that that wall was part of the 1994 front entrance remodel. It turned out that wall was actually part of the 1960 wing. So when they took the roof off the 1960 wing to demolish it, that wall would have fallen down. So we had to stop the project halfway through and start to look at bids of what it would cost us to build a new wall parallel next to that wall. We had 2 bidders that bid. One was at $248,000 and one was at $258,000. So we know right there we're going to be over our budget. We also found during the demolition $75,000 worth of oil sitting in the ground. Well, that's what the remediation cost was. Oil that had leaked from the furnaces, and to dig that oil up and have it transported, since it was toxic waste, it only could go certain places, it cost $75,968 to do that. The last piece is the topsoil and hydro seed at the end of the project, which was $16,000. When we went through the 2020 bid list, not everyone had those, except for Bestech. They did. So the quotes were Sahaki and Son at $1,371,000, Manafort Brothers $1,589,000, Bestech $1,344,000. Again, they had that in their quote. Stanford Wrecking $1,215,000. And we don't know what the inflation cost might have been between 2020 and 2022. 2022 bids, when I add those same costs in, Bestech was at $1,090,000, Stanford Wrecking $1,329,000, Weiss Construction $1,367,000, and Sahaki and Son $1,604,000. So I've rounded those numbers. So we gave Bestech the job. Bestech's original quote was $689,000. So we thought, oh my God, we put $1 million aside. Not only will we do this job for less than $1 million, we're going to put money back in the undesignated fund, not knowing of those things like the wall, the remediation, and the topsoil and seeding. So we paid, when Bestech started, They were paid in full for what they had quoted, which is $689,000. And they were also paid for the remediation of soil, $75,968. When the project had stopped because they didn't want to build a new wall, I called and appealed to them once we got the other two bids for roughly $250,000 to say, Jim Newberry is the owner of Bestech. Can you please come back and finish this project for us? We need to get it done. Right now, it looks awful out there with the buildings half down and half up. We knew we had graduation coming, Memorial Day parade, and the usual things that happen in the village during the summer. So they started the project, and we asked multiple times, can I get a change order? And after asking about 4 or 5 times, it finally came when the building was fully demolished and the wall was built. And the final invoice was $347,975.33. At the point which I thought was extremely higher than I anticipated. I called the clerk of the works and asked them, could they come in and see if there's any issues with this final invoicing? They found $53,000 of duplicate invoicing. So the adjusted bill came down to $294,884.86. So at that point, it's still more money than I thought the town should have to pay. Since we moved the water for Bestech, they didn't have to deal with it. We tied in the library, which Bestech didn't have to do. We put their fence up 3 times when it had blown over. And I asked Jim Newberry if I could get a meeting with him, and he agreed to meet with me. I said at that time, I think that the number should be closer to $195,000. I think you should knock $100,000 off this last invoice. He said, I'll think about it and I'll call you back in about a week. So if the answer was no, what were our options? I could go back and negotiate a new number somewhere between the 195 and the 294, or we could go to arbitration. I asked our attorney, how would we do an arbitration? He said the arbitration would not go well for North Stonington. First, the work wasn't halted when the change order hadn't been received after multiple requests. Job had been completed and the quality of work was deemed to be satisfactory. Bestech had documentation and invoicing to justify their final bill. And the town would also have to pay arbitration costs and lawyers' fees. So arbitration wasn't something I wanted to approach. So why didn't I stop the job? When we had no change order, I asked for it 4 times, the building was half up, half down. Why didn't I stop it? Well, one, Bestech would have pulled their crew and equipment. The town would most likely end up in litigation with the contractor. Secondly, the site would look like a war zone for an undetermined amount of time, probably lasting through Memorial Day, the Memorial Day parade, graduation, and parades and lights. And thirdly, the town would have to put out an RFP to have someone come in to complete the work. And as you know, when someone comes in to complete somebody else's work, it usually costs quite a bit more money. So therefore, I would just let Bestech continue with the project, not knowing what the final outcome would be. So in conclusion, the majority of people that weighed in on the demo project wanted to see the building come down, and many believe that it should have happened as part of the original school building project. Number 2, in addition, if the additional funds are approved, the project will cost the town $239,208 less than the second lowest bidder. So we basically saved $240,000 by keeping Bestech on the job. If the funds are approved, the entire cost of the project will come from ARPA funds and no additional monies come from the taxpayer or undesignated funds. And the last thing is, through honest and transparent negotiations with the contractor, the town avoided litigation and potential large lawyers' fees. So tonight, I am asking you to approve $90,000 out of ARPA funds, which will leave us about $326 left in the ARPA funds. But I think overall, the town's done a good job with those funds. We've done a lot to help 501c3s. We've done things to help small business in town. I think that's, as the town goes, I'm very proud of how we use that money, and we saved the taxpayers a ton of money and got the building down as most people wanted. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to open it up for any questions that anyone might have or any comments. Please come up to the microphone in the center of the room if you have any questions or comments.
My name is Nick Mullane. I live at 28 Miller Road. I went through the entire building process and did a variety of observations and listened to a lot of evaluations of the existing complex we're in now and the one that was torn down. The one that was torn down that we're talking about tonight was an emergency type of construction, very poor specification, and the building was at best just enough to suit the needs at that time. It's built on a slab, has a flat roof. To do any repair, maintenance, or upgrade, it'd be very difficult and expensive and not worth it. Therefore, I'm of the opinion that the right thing was done. It was torn down because any money to spend on it would have been a waste.
Any other questions or comments on number one on the call? There doesn't seem to be a lot, there's no discussion besides Nick on this. And to help move the meeting along, I would like to switch. I'd entertain a motion to switch from the ground rules and do this by a verbal vote. State your name, please.
I make a motion to switch the ground rules and move to a verbal
Vote.
vote.
It was Sarah Nelson and Dan Smith.
Dan Smith. Stage fright. Stage fright, sorry. Okay, we're going to move this to a vote. Question number one, all those in favor of approving the motion on number one as read, signify by saying aye. Opposed? The motion carries. At this time, I'll ask the town clerk to read number two on the call.
Question number 2. Shall the town approve an additional appropriation of funds from the undesignated fund in the amount of $50,000 for the purchase of a used 75-foot ladder truck Quint from the town of Colchester?
At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve number two on the call of the meeting. Who made that motion? And seconded by Dan Smith. Okay, Charlie, would you like to come up and present this one, please?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out. I got a quick PowerPoint presentation to go over the purchases of the proposed Quint, followed by a brief discussion or overview from the chief engineer that will go over the mechanics of the vehicle after the DOT inspection. All right, you can move right to slide 2. All right, the North Stonington Volunteer Fire Company provides fire and rescue services to the town of North Stonington, Connecticut. It's combined of volunteers and per diem firefighters. We respond to approximately 400 calls a year. And again, as it says, 40 volunteers and 10 per diem staff. Next slide. Our current fleet, we have 3 engines, the carry hose, small amount of water, fire pumps to extinguish fires, 1 tanker carries a large amount of water to supply the engines to fight the fire, and 1 heavy rescue. Next slide. What is a Quint? Quint is a firefighting apparatus that serves dual purpose of an engine and a ladder truck. Quint referred to 5 functions. This is per the NFPA standard what a Quint is. Has a pump on it, water tank on it, fire hose, an aerial ladder, and ground ladders. The benefits of a Quint. Can't see that, so I'm gonna try to read it. Safety is it's a safer platform to work off of. Doesn't rely on the integrity of a supporting of a structure or a building where the ladders rest against. Efficiency and versatility, combine multiple functions into one single piece of apparatus. Allows one person to set a ladder for rescue and for firefighting. Space resources optimization. The Quint be the first truck deployed on scene. Gives the prime placement for the apparatus task. As we discussed in previous meetings, mutual aid tower ladders, they're not Quints, they're tower ladders, which are a much larger vehicle. They come in second, third due to our scenes where our engines are on place. We'll be blocking the scene so the vehicle actually couldn't make it to the scene. Enhanced response capabilities. Again, it's a multifunctional design, provides greater flexibility during emergencies. Next slide. Again, as we said previously, safer platform for rescue operations because it allows for more stability, for ladder placement, and removing victims. It's a safer platform to operate off of for the following conditions. Roof impacted by inclement weather, as we just had some snow and ice. If you drive around town, you look at people's roofs, there's a lot of ice and snow on it, as well as steep pitches. Next slide. That's what can happen with minimum staffing and firemen on a ground ladder. If you look, that's a metal roof they're trying to get up on with snow. We are seeing an increase of metal roofs in our town, and obviously most of our roofs are currently covered in snow. That incident there could be potential career ender for a firefighter. He just fell off a single-story house. Doesn't need to be a high-rise or skyscraper for a ladder truck or a Quint to be needed. Simple house like that, roofs fail. Modern day construction burn a much faster rate than previous homes did, 20, 30 years ago. The construction with under 5 minutes of flame impingement, a roof fails. So firefighter putting that ladder up, putting a roof ladder on the roof, trying to go across that roof. Say we got to cross town, we're already behind the 8 ball. We're 5 to 8 minutes behind it. By the time we get there, we throw a ladder up, potential roof collapse is a significant risk for our firefighters. Next slide. Efficiencies in versatility. A Quint is a jack of all trade type vehicle. It's able to perform the duties of basically engine and a ladder truck in one package, which requires less manpower to do. Again, understanding as a volunteer organization during the daytime, manpower may be limited. This truck can leave with a crew of 3 or 4 firemen, operate to do both the functions. Instead of taking 2 or 3 firemen to put a ladder out, 1 firefighter sets up the ladder while the other 2 fight the fire. Next slide. Placement optimization. As a first arriving apparatus, we'll be able to perform both roles. Obviously, see the picture to the left, the engine's on scene fighting a fire, and the ladder on the right is doing ventilation, or you can do rescue. Next slide. Town growth, construction of 3-story hotels, new multi-story school, large housing being built in town. The houses aren't small like they used to be. You drive around and look at some larger homes in town, you'll notice there's some houses being built that are 3 stories from ground level. Response times and placement of apparatus. Mutual aid's coming, but they're not there at the same time we are. Vertical reach. Buildings are in construction has outgrown the current abilities of our fleet. We have 1 35-foot extension ladder in the fire department. It's on the side of our tanker, which is not first out the building. So if you're on a 3rd story, especially the hotels, or if we got to get on the roof of one of the schools, especially the gymatorium, we need a 35-foot ladder. That is not the first vehicle out the door. The engine is. So we have one ladder, and then potentially it's on the tanker, which is the vehicle that provides water for the fire also. That is usually at the end of the driveway, so you're carrying a 35-foot extension ladder up 100-plus foot driveways. Some people have a lot longer driveways in town. The identified need, the Board of Selectmen and the fire company have agreed that Quinton is an appropriate step to move the town forward in apparatus and equipment replacements. Next slide. Comparison. The current vehicle is a 1995 E1, has a 28-foot ground ladder, carries 750 gallons of water, has 1,000 feet of supply hose, 700 feet of suppression hose. Mileage is 46,500, pump hours 173, engine hours 1,200. The proposed Quint is a 1997 Simon Duplex LTI. 75-foot aerial ladder, carries 500 gallons of water, has 600 feet of supply hose, 700 feet of fire suppression hose, has 9,411 miles on it. Pump hours are 302, and engine hours are 1,500. This is the Quint that's proposed for purchase for $50,000. Mutual aid assistance comes from another organization. Again, Wise Mutual Aid isn't always the answer. They're coming from out of town. Mutual aid is always almost significant disadvantage because of the delay between dispatching. Mutual aid ladders are oversized and unable to efficiently operate in our rural settings. If you actually looked at, and anybody's seen on Facebook, I'm sure most of us here do, heard a lot from it this week. You look at it, the new tower ladder that Colchester bought is sitting next to this Quint that we're looking to buy. It looks like a matchbox. Our average response time to arrival on scene is 6 minutes, 33 seconds. Next. Why is Colchester selling the Quint? Because they purchased a new tower ladder that follows a replacement schedule. Does it need any service? Jason will be giving you an update on that, but yes, minor repairs, but will be covered by the current fire company maintenance budget. Have you researched any other available Quints? Yes, we have done our research. We've looked around. The benefit of this Quint is one of the proposed. Its size is much smaller than most that are available out there. We're getting it at the neighbor discount, and it's the most cost-effective option for the town. If it is important, why doesn't the town already have it? It's been in the long-range plan for over 20 years for the fire company. It's been pushed off at least 5 times. Previously, we didn't have the space for it. We've completed the new emergency services building, where now it will fit in the building as necessary. Slide. Why not just buy a new one? The Quint has been the fire department replacement plan. A brand new truck. It take up to 48 months for arrival. Having this truck in service grants us the opportunity not only to train our firefighters, but also offers the capabilities immediately. Why do we need to keep the engine? It is prudent to keep the engine until the contract is signed to replace both apparatus, and all staff are trained on the new Quinton tactics. We have been a engine fire department for 75 plus years. Every single member will have to touch this vehicle to be trained in its tactics and how it operates. Where will the spare engine be stored? It will be stored in the garage until sold. Next slide. That's the end of my presentation. I will turn it over now to Jason Tagg for the presentation on the DOT inspection side of it.
Good evening, everybody. Just waiting for the pictures to come up. So I went out, I'm the chief engineer for the fire department. Certified to work on fire apparatus as well as heavy equipment and heavy duty trucks. I went out not on anyone's time but my own to inspect the truck. I am a taxpayer in town, so I wanted to make sure we're spending our money wisely as well. I've been to the selectmen meeting and the Board of Finance meeting to present what I found with the truck. I did the DOT inspection on the truck, which was a federal inspection to ensure that the vehicle is safe to operate on roadways. I also did basically an NFPA type inspection on the truck to make sure that the fire apparatus side of the vehicle is in good shape, which it is. I know what Colchester wrote up on the truck. That report is from 2020. The last pump test that they had done on the truck, it did pass. The repairs that needed to be done were done on the truck, and it has passed all its inspections. Pump test inspection, aerial inspection, DOT inspection, all the ones that it had last year has passed. Brett, do you have those pictures? All right. So he's going to bring up a couple pictures. One of the things that was noted by Colchester was the condition of the frame. I took some pictures of the frame to show that the frame is in good condition. I don't know if he can zoom or not there. So what you're looking at there, it's a double frame on that truck. So you can see an inner and an outer section. Yes, there is surface rust on that outer section. That is not heavy corrosion. That is surface rust. When you get heavy corrosion between two frame rails, they start to do what's called rust jacking, and they actually separate. This truck does not have that. You can just go through the pictures. So that's a picture, just rear section of the undercarriage of the truck. Again, you can see, yes, there is surface rust. However, there is no heavy corrosion. This truck has not been painted recently on the frame rails or anything. That's the actual current condition of the truck. There's no overpaint or anything to try to hide anything. Go ahead. There's some more suspension pictures just to show that there's no heavy corrosion on the suspension. You can see the frame rails there. That's right by the rear axle, where you get a lot of corrosion generally. There is no heavy corrosion on the truck. Go ahead. Same thing, just more suspension parts, no heavy corrosion. Yep. You can see the rear brakes right there, still in good condition. They're probably about 75%. They do not need replacement anytime soon. Go ahead. More rear suspension parts. That's the actual. This has hard rubber suspension on the rear. It's not airbag, just showing that they're not all blown out. What happens, those will start to split and actually mushroom out. These ones have not. Go ahead. Showing that the rear tires are in good shape. Those are a very high cost item. I think there's one more picture. Maybe, maybe not. No? All right. There's one other picture I had on my phone, I thought, of the front tires. But anyway, front tires are brand new. Again, very high cost item. So that's just to show that there is surface rust. Yes, it's a 25-year-old truck. Is there heavy corrosion as was noted previously? No, there is not. So the truck is in good shape. There's no major issues with the truck. Are there minor ones? Yes, it's 25 years old. There's a few gauges on the pump panel that need to be replaced. Those are about $100 each. There is a small hydraulic leak on the back. It is what's considered a class 2 leak, which means it's not dripping on the ground. It's just wet. That is easily rebuilt. And you're probably looking at around $1,000 to $2,000. So there's no major repairs needed on the truck. It can be brought from Colchester to our department tomorrow and put in service as soon as we move the gear over. That's all I've got.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to open it up for any questions that you have or comments. Please come up to the microphone, the podium in the center of the room.
Excuse me. Amy French, 41 Backpack. Do not mean that I don't everyone, because I do. When that whistle goes off, I know what it's like as a family. I respect that. However, you have some questions. What is torque in that garage?
Right now, it has a ATV trailer, a service truck, and a rebuilding truck.
Do we have an antique truck?
The fire company does.
Where is that?
It's in the garage. As I said, we're rebuilding a truck. It's moved out. Stuff will fit. The fire company for 75 years worked out of a small building and made things fit. We're very versatile at making things fit where we need to make them fit. It will fit.
We were told that when you built the building, that we had no, when you were building that garage, that we had no extra room in that building. That's just my concern. Then I have another one. So when this truck, say we buy this 25-year-old truck, we put it in there, we put it in your fleet, it breaks down a month after we get it, it's guaranteed that we have to get a new truck.
No, that's not true. The engine will be in reserve until the ladder is replaced. Engine 2 is due for replacement. That's nothing that's been on the capital long range plan. This Quint is coming in to take its place short term until engine 2 is actually replaced with a Quint. So in the event this ladder truck were to break down, that's why we're keeping the engine right now. That truck were to go down, we don't lose capability of an engine, we lose the capability of a ladder. So that truck will go put back in service.
And then we have this other truck that we're replacing.
Right.
What happens if that goes down too? We still have to buy a truck. We're out of ladder truck. Once
We're out of
you,
the ladder truck.
my question is, once you put that ladder truck into your fleet,
Yep.
we have to have a ladder truck after that, correct?
No, nothing says that. Because yes, our replacement of our next fire engine is going to be a Quint proposed to the town. This one, instead of paying $1.5 million for a new Quint today, you pay $50,000 to get the training aspect and getting the capabilities in this town today. This vehicle, instead of, if we went out and bought one, not from Colchester, we're reselling over $150,000 right now. So this gives us the capabilities relatively cheap and it provides increased protection for our firefighters. As you saw in the video, firemen could fall off the roof, career ending. You look around the room, there's a lot of firemen, husband, wives, children.
You
in
do
the
not
room.
have to tell me that. I live that life.
I can. And if you fall off a roof and I can't go home, my kids and my wife are the ones that are going to miss me. This tool helps protect our firemen. That's what this is about. My family wants me to come home after every call, as the rest of the other company members around this do. This is about protecting your firemen and providing better coverage for your town.
Amy, if we could ask for any other questions
That's fine.
first, and we will have an opportunity to go again after we've heard from everyone else. Anyone else like to speak?
Hi, I'm Jim Holdridge from Winnershock Hill Road. A couple of questions. If this truck is over 25 years old, and it's 29 if I'm not mistaken, according to NFPA 1911, any vehicle over 25 years old should be retired from service. This is not my words, this is NFPA's. Or do a complete refurbishment of the truck and then keep it for a while longer. What's the cost of refurbishing this truck to make it usable? And we're saying it's usable now right where it is. NFPA does not agree with that. Where do we go?
So it's a 26-year-old vehicle. And if you're correct, NFPA standard is, I sent actually out the age of our fleet to the entire town. It went out on the quarterly about the NFPA standard. You're right. NFPA says 25 years a fire truck should be replaced. We fail to do that in our snowing. We've asked for years, multiple times, to file a replacement plan. Our apparatus doesn't get replaced per NFPA. It doesn't. We have currently 29-year-old truck, another one that's over 30 years old. So the fleet is aged, our entire fleet. This is a temporary vehicle to get us trained and get the capabilities in town until the engine that's due for replacement gets replaced with a Quint.
Okay, we say temporary, accidents happen, it doesn't matter if it's temporary or not. So we can't go back on this temporary, it has to be up to snuff when it leaves the building the first time.
Correct.
So therefore, when is it going to be refurbished according to NFPA? And what's the cost?
We're not refurbishing it. It's going to be put in service because as the engineer stated, it's passed all its DOT inspections. We're not going to refurbish this truck. It's going to be, the engine gets replaced, a new one will come in.
So when someone gets hurt in an accident on the road or at a fire scene and the lawyers will have a field day with it, where are we going with that? Because we ignored NFPA guidelines.
Well, you have that problem now.
It doesn't change it. We're adding another problem.
Okay, we can do that. No matter what you look at, you have multiple vehicles in the town's fleet. Again, understanding the fire apparatus are owned by the town of North Stonington, and the town has failed to replace your apparatus in a timely fashion.
So we still haven't made anything any better.
We're trying to, but securing funding to replace vehicles has been a
Again,
issue.
this, according to them, we're not going to do anything to refurb it. We're going to ignore their recommendations and put this into service and put our people at risk.
So a refurb on that is easily $300,000 if you want to spend $300,000 on a truck that,
I don't think we should spend anything, but that's beyond the scope of this.
Okay,
I'm saying that we should have a truck that is right for the purpose and up to code before it goes out the door.
right, so you'd have to approve $1.5 million then.
So we should ignore this truck and go for the 1.5. Is that what you're saying?
No, I said, as I said in the presentation, you get a vehicle that fits the need of the town today, train on it. I'd rather train an entire fire department on a $50,000 truck than a $1.5 million vehicle that gets damaged or scratched for no reason while training.
But you're still willing to put the people at risk for lawsuits if something happens?
Are you willing to support the fire company and purchase vehicles in a timely, long-range capital plan? That's the question.
Whether
And
I'm
fund it.
going to support it or not is immaterial.
I rather not get into a debate on this. I'd ask that you yield the microphone, and if you have
I have
further,
another questions. Could I do that or no?
after somebody else has an opportunity, Jim. I'd ask that people stick to 2 minutes. I don't like to cut people off. I'd like them to be able to finish their chain of thought and questioning, but as you see, I have cut off both speakers so far. So as far as the 2 minutes goes, I think I think we're all right. I'd ask that you let me know when 2 minutes is still, and we'll see, we'll take it from there. Can you go? Yeah, okay. Please state your name and address.
My name is Shannon Abbott's, 126 Northwest Corner Road. Over the past week, there has been much conversation about the purchase of a new ladder truck. The feedback across the community has been varied. I've heard some conflicting messages that you should be heard tonight prior to making your decision. This is a non-verbatim summary of some of the things I've heard on the town page. We don't need another truck. New equipment does not stop fires. The fleet is old. We should consider working for a new one. We need data. How many times have we needed a ladder truck, and what are those exact numbers? It's not like we have a bunch of high rises in North Stonington. In my opinion, a no vote implies that the lay person with zero firefighter experience in this town on this equipment feels that these firefighters are safe enough. Scaling homes and buildings with ground ladders in the rain, sleet, snow, or any condition is their problem to overcome. That despite the minimal tax impact, you accept the risk to our homes, families, and our fire personnel. You want improved response times, but you're willing to wait for a neighboring town to call up their firefighters, dispatch a ladder truck, and then work to find your home in the woods of North Stonington. And then it seems that the usage data arguments are more important than the expertise of these firefighters who are actually climbing the ladders and performing the job. A no vote seems to be willing to roll the dice and gamble
that we will not have any situations that will require a ladder truck in the coming years, and gambles that the next town over will arrive before you lose your house or your home, or your life, I'm sorry. It is wrong to roll the dice with the safety of my family or any other family in this room, and it is certainly wrong to play the odds with the safety of these firefighters. For over 75 years, this department has never failed to respond to a call, not once. All volunteers pay taxes, have jobs, and they perform their volunteer duties in addition to their own busy lives. They deserve they deserve better than a 20-year no from this town. It's time to do the right thing, and it's time to do the safe thing. Your vote here tonight speaks for more than just yourself. It speaks for all of us and for the safety of our first responders. I would simply request that you fully consider that responsibility when voting.
Is there any other people that wish to comment or have any questions? Please come up to the microphone.
Very, very quickly, Jason Tag, 20 Oak Drive. This is to clarify the 1911 standard. NFPA, about 98% of it, and I have the entire book in my truck if anybody wants to see it afterwards. It's about 800 pages long. NFPA is recommendation. Federal DOT is your truck is no longer good. So, yes, he is correct. After 25 years, NFPA recommends that your truck is replaced. However, let's see. Unless the apparatus meets the recommended annual service and acceptance level tests and has been deemed in excellent mechanical condition. It has passed its pump test, it's passed its aerial test, it passed its DOT inspection. That's all.
Any other comments or questions?
My name is Kate Moore, Old Colony Road. Charlie, I got a couple questions for you. If my understanding of your presentation is correct, the plan to replace the truck that we already have is to replace it with a truck very similar to the one that you're proposing purchasing.
Correct.
And so, not necessarily a numbers person, but I would imagine that it would cost more than $50,000 to give this town the amount of training that they could get on this piece of apparatus so that when that new truck is purchased, we have people that have been trained for a couple years in using this equipment, correct?
Correct.
Okay. A lot of the things I've been hearing is about that this is an end around for you guys to add something to your fleet so that then you can say, oh, it broke, get us a new one. The getting a new one is the plan. And for what it's worth, I've footed a ladder, okay, as a teen for this town. I'd rather people be on that. Thanks.
Joe Casado, Wyasset Road. I'd like to move the motion, please, to vote on.
All those in favor of moving to the question? All the, all those against moving the question? The motion carries. So we need, oh, good point. We're going to use, to clarify, rather than doing it audible, to clarify that we have 2/3 vote on it. We're going to use that slip number 1 and vote on whether we're going to move the question. Who tore that up? Obviously, that doesn't sit well with some people that got rid of their first ballot. It may take us longer, but Since there is somewhat of an objection, we're going to actually have a raise hands and take a count. If I request, we are going to do this by a raise of hands. We will save the second slip for number 2 when we vote on number 2. This vote is just to move the question. And do I have a couple volunteers, 2 volunteers to act as tellers for this? We have 2, if you would each take one side of the room and the other, I guess. All those in favor of moving to the question, that means ending discussion and taking a vote right after. Raise your hand, leave your hand in the air if you want to move the question. Brett, do you have a total on that? The motion passes. We have ended discussion on the motion for number 2. We will now vote on question number 2, and we're going to do that by your paper ballot. That should be, I think it's a yellow one. White one. I pulled mine out of my pocket. If there's anyone that does not have one of the white slips to vote on this question, please go up to the desk in the front. Last call for anybody that would like to vote. Come up front to one of the tellers to. I could have your attention, please. We have a result out of 111 votes cast, 86 yes, 25 no. The motion to purchase the Quint truck from Colchester passed. Entertain a motion to adjourn. This meeting is adjourned.